This was raised by Jayanti, and she asks, Sir, is there a relationship between nature, Prakriti, and nature, swabhava? This is a question, sir.
Oh, it's a good question. It's a very good question. I don't, Janti, I don't remember reading something specifically about it. There may be somewhere, but you have to search. I'm venturing to give an opinion. We said give up opinions, right? Now, what do you do when you're asked for a question? At least I must acknowledge that it's an opinion, and so it can be accepted as that rather than a fact. I'm applying what I know, not what I have read. Prakriti is universal nature. It's the universal force which we meet as life. But we know, he tells us, that actually Prakriti is Shakti. Behind the apparently mechanical, chance, fixed laws of an unconscious nature or an inconscient nature, which is how Sankhya perceived it, there is a conscious intelligence, there is a supramental intelligence that guides everything. It's universal. Swabhava is our own personal nature. Not just the outer body, mind, vital and mind, but it carries with it the force of individual inheritance and individual experience. From family, community, past lives. I don't remember, I don't know whether Tamalapa has written about it in more detail than we have discussed it in English, but we know that there's not just a soul, but there is a hereditary movement from the past, not only of this life, but past lives. It's known, it's referred to often in the sense of karma. There is a nature that we acquire through our series of lives. The goal is to make that nature psychic. The goal is that through the development of the psychic being, our subtle nature, and then eventually through transformation, our external surface nature should become divine. But that's a long evolutionary process. But at the subtle level, before the nature becomes divine, there is a vital, physical, mental nature for each person based on their evolutionary experience, which is in some way related to the essence of their psychic individuality, spiritual individuality, and their experience, the soul's cumulative experience. And it's that nature that evolves as the psychic being grows so that it can express more and more the divine rather than the cumulative experience of external life. If there wasn't such a nature, how could there be a hereditary karma? It's not the psychic that carries karma. The psychic is divine, in essence. There is a nature connected with that psychic which is not yet divine. It's not yet been transformed. So I'm guessing, or I'm speculating, that we might be able to say, and if anyone has knowledge or we can research it and find something that they have said specifically, that it could be considered the individual nature, but not just at the moment, carrying with it a hereditary past experience in this life and earlier lives. We call it, it's the English version of it is character. Character fits what I have said, though the word character doesn't have a past life or karmic connotation to it that swabhava does. Can ask Chandru, because he may have another view or more information to shed on it. The character is formed in Western psychology. The character is a product of your family or upbringing, the community, the generation, and things that you develop, but it has no idea how it's developed the way it is, except that obviously some of it comes from the parents and the childhood experience, but they've never been able to explain everything that way. When you understand there are past lives, and even in the same family, you have 5 children in the Bennett family who grew up in the same context, how different they are. Only when you understand there is a hereditary, hereditary for the individual, not just for the family, that you can explain this wide diversity, as well as the similarities. But whatever it is, the whole process of spiritual growth is we have to transform our nature before we can transform universal nature. We have to transform our nature. When we consecrate, what we're consecrating is our nature. Nature represented in us, not only in the surface, mental, vital, physical, but as we go deeper, we're consecrating deeper strands of it from earlier our experience or hereditary characteristics that we get from our parents. But ultimately, in order to be complete, we'd have to go back, we'd have to consecrate what's there in the depth of the being, which has formed this particular individual formation over lifetimes. Let's see how far it holds up under further scrutiny. And if anyone's inclined to do a little research, that might help us. Anyway, challenging question. I welcome it.
Yes, another question, sir. This is raised by Sukumari. She writes, I have a question. This is regarding the topic of opinion.
Good.
Even if we don't reinforce an opinion, but someone else tries to continue to give theirs, even if they are the ones at fault, how do we handle this? I know we shouldn't react, but how to continuously keep the calm and reverse the opinion if needed to have harmony? This is her question, sir.
So that was my question. So I had.
Go ahead.
Sorry. So I had a reason for asking this. It was a recent experience. So somebody believes, have an opinion, like this was regarding and helping another relative. They have an opinion that I didn't do enough or whatever, and they keep reinforcing it. Whereas I know I have done. So there is nothing you can do but to reverse the opinion, but just hear them out. I don't want to argue with them, but you feel bad because that is wrong. So it's an opinion which is fixed in their mind. So you just have to listen to it, but there is some reactions definitely which is there, but how to reverse that and how to, or just keep calm, and not react too much. That was my question.
You said you feel bad because it was wrong. What was wrong?
Sir, the fact that she didn't have the whole truth, because that was not the case. The truth was something different, but the opinion of this person is something different. So that is the
Ma, the idea of if your happiness if our happiness depends on everybody around us having the right opinion, we're doomed to a life
so.
of misery. Our happiness must be independent of opinions, our own and other people's.
Right.
So the intensity of opinions being presented to us, like the intensity of any behavior, is an invitation for us to move away from our own opinions. And when we think we're not opinionated or pride ourselves on the fact that we don't have opinions, people come to us with stronger opinions and thrust them on us to show that we still have opinions. We may not have their opinion. Our opinion may be formed, more enlightened than somebody else's, but that doesn't mean it's not an opinion. So you know the answer and you already said it. The first requirement is not to react, because as long as we're reacting, what's reacting in us? So that's the first step, and that's very valuable. The second step is to reflect, if this strong opinion is coming to me, I must have strong opinions somewhere. And maybe I'm also imposing them on others. If I'm not doing it outwardly, I may be doing it inwardly and thinking that other people have wrong opinion. The point is not to correct our opinions or the world's, because it's not possible. We have to open the doors and windows and let the light in so that opinions dissolve. We can't be struggling one by one to remove them. If you say it's necessary for harmony, of course, human relations are very complex, and you're giving one dimension of a relationship, which is natural. But harmony, what is the basis for harmony, is a question. Is it, I wrote about it in my novel, is it because we have the same, we can have harmony at the level of manners. We can have harmony at the level of opinions or interests. In the West, when we're looking for spouses, very often one of the first things you notice is somebody likes the same food you like, or the same music you like, or the same hobbies you like, or the same movies you like. And how long does that last as a basis for compatibility in life? You can check the divorce statistics. Harmony, human harmony, as long as it's based on the superficial surface, it's not that it isn't desirable. Jane and Bingley were harmonious at that level. They were harmonious at the mere surface level, maybe at deeper levels as well. In the surface level, Lizzie and Darcy were at the opposite ends of the spectrum. Yet they had a harmony, they had a harmony of values at a deeper level, or a complementarity which made for a harmony that could overcome the surface disharmony. as long when they got out of the way. Lizzie didn't transform Darcy, though she may have had it as an ambition for the rest of her life to do so. At least she felt the freedom to laugh at him in front of Georgiana and indicate that she would try to educate his sister not to hold him up on a pedestal. But we have to wonder how successful she would have been in transforming him once he got what he really wanted. On the surface, they're completely different. She's cheerful, laughing, playful. What's the word? She's, is another appropriate word.
Very lively.
Lively, but she's even provocative, a little mischievous, outspoken. Darcy's, anyway, you know, we can describe him. But there is a real harmony between them that goes deep. So I'm just thinking that the harmony comes not by agreeing to everything on the surface, but of course not reacting on the surface is important, but looking for a deeper level of relationship, which is not bothered by surface disagreements and is not disturbed by surface disagreements. And that's hard because we do tend to react if there's a surface difference, especially when we know we're right? Which we usually do.
I think that we are right is also an opinion. I guess we need to be so if I'm not wrong.
Please repeat, because the voice was blurred.
So I think that even thinking that I'm right is an opinion, and I think I should give that up. Also.
That's the point. That's the point. And that's why it comes. That's why I'm saying, take it as an opportunity to outgrow more of our own opinions. If you think about, if you can work through for me, both of you, if you can work through for me, what would have been the normal response of Darcy when he proposed to her and she told him he's the last man on earth and why she said it? How much of a clash there was between his opinions and her opinions? And what would have been the normal response of any person to that? And what did he do? I would like to hear it from the both of you. Put yourself in his place, because he got confronted with opinions that were categorically opposed, opposite to his own, which it couldn't have been easy for him to handle. What was the process he followed? You can see that process more clearly because it's spelled out in the story in Lizzie when she read his letter. Excuse me, just for a second. Can you try? Either of you try? I think Lizzie's better because we see the whole process. With Darcy, we only hear the end result. But with Lizzie, it's described in the book.
That is our reflection after reading Darcy's letter.
I think the first thing which I think is the stepping back. That's one thing which I think both of them did immediately. They stepped back from their opinions and just consider the other man's point of view. Both of them did. I think.
Not easily, reluctantly. Struggle,
Yes,
for sure. In the
Yeah.
beginning, she was angry. She was full of reaction. She first pulled back to consider and came to the view that he probably couldn't be lying. Then she reviewed and reflected on her own opinions. And Darcy did the same thing. The thing that impressed me most about Darcy, he had a more difficult time in one sense, because half of what she said was plain wrong. So more difficult, maybe half or three-quarters was wrong, I don't know. But what she said about Wickham was really wrong, was the opposite of the truth. Therefore, it's much more difficult to give up our opinion when three-quarters or 90% of what she based her point on, or half even, is false. And he had the goodness, I would say, or sincerity, not to focus on the things that were wrong, but to focus on the truth in what he said, which was not so much a truth of fact as a truth of attitude. Instead of self-justifying his position, he looked for a truth in her accusations, and he found there was one. So instead of defending what was false against the falsehood, he acknowledged with sincerity the truth, whether it's a 5% or a 1% or a 50%, doesn't matter. That's sincerity. Either of you comment further, or anyone?
Sir, after reflecting on Darcy's letter, I think Vidya Ramesh wanted to say something.
I'd like to hear from anyone.
Okay, her mic was on for a moment. I thought she's going to say. So after reflecting on Darcy's letter, what Appa says is that she undergoes a change and she completely reverses her attitude within 2 hours of time.
I would say what she does is she manages to withdraw her reaction.
She moved from her vital to mental. It's totally reversed.
Eager never to see him again, or not to see him again. It's not that she's reversed her attitude. She's controlled the reaction and stepped away from it. She's not fully reversed even her vital attitude toward Wickham. She's mostly reversed, we might say, her mental understanding or her mental opinion of Wickham. Not enough to feel outraged by him, but at least enough to drop illusions about him. She does reverse to a certain extent and realize that she doesn't represent he doesn't represent what she thought. Vidya, did you want to say something?
Sorry, please continue.
If you want, if you have something, I'd like to hear it.
So regarding these opinions, so suppose I had a question like, if we fix an opinion about a person, somehow it creates, after a duration of time when you spend time with those people, we somehow mind frames automatically some opinion about them. Sure. But after certain situations, or I could say a proper example, so we had a driver, so he was there for more than 18-20 years, so with my father. So, but what happened is like, I'm like, my parents are in a hometown and I'm away from them. So he used to take care well, there is no issues. And basically he was, we own a hotel. So he takes care of all those things. But what happened, a certain period of time after, my father gave a lot of I should say, like, he gave a lot of relaxation to him, so he took many things for advantages. So when I came down and checked for few accounting and everything, I could find he has misused very badly. He has misused the money. So when I found that, I called and told him this is the issue. Then he told that he will not do it again. But somehow my father was not ready to leave him because he's there for more than 20 years. So I wanted to convince him also. So I told, don't do this. Instead, what I did is, like, I increased his salary because he was getting a little meager salary, and he was getting incentives like small things. Instead, what I did, I'll give you a proper salary, take 18,000 or 20,000, you make it fixed, do all the job, let it be very transparent, so that he will also, because I thought about why he's trying to take money from us. Then I understood he has a family, he has grown up, he has 2 kids. So that was not sufficient. So I fixed it. But still, after so many, like 2 years also, still, in my opinion, I don't have trust in him. And whatever he does, I always doubt him. So I know that is my mistake, but he's also feeling that I'm doubting, and he also feels very embarrassed many moments. So sometimes I feel very unpleasant experience I have with him. So, but somehow he's a very good driver. Touchwood, till date, he has not made any accidents or anything. He was very skilled labor. That I would definitely tell him. But only thing, this attitude made me to have a wrong opinion always on him. Like, I have a doubt. Even I try to forget it, but somehow I doubt him. That is one thing which I wanted to remove, but I'm not able to do that.
That's a very practical example. How can we give up the experience and the knowledge that we have? The only thing we can do is we can tell ourselves it's not the whole truth. And we don't know the whole person. We don't know ourselves, let alone how can we know other people? We don't know what we're capable of. And have we ever reversed our behavior or our mistakes from the past?
Yes.
Is there anything we have done in the past that if people knew about it now, we would be embarrassed beyond measure? It's part of growing up. It's part of, otherwise we're not making progress, no? When Appa asked my aunt that question, she said, oh, it's a very long list. Appa knew it was a very long list when he met her. And after speaking to her for a few days, he didn't, but he also knew she has a capacity to change. She has a capacity beyond all of those things. What can I do to bring that out? Not to deny her capacities or underestimate what she's capable of, but to say there's more there. So what I'm not asking, and that we completely discard what we know and our experience. That doesn't make sense. We wouldn't know how to proceed in life. We can know that it's limited, that it's from our perspective, that we don't understand the full context, and that it may change. If we can change, other people can change. If people don't understand us fully, and I think we would agree that if we think about how much do the people around us really understand us from our point of view, our intentions, our actions, and all, then how are can we be much better in understanding life from other people's point of view, especially when we don't know their whole life, when we only relate to them in a context. So the point is, first of all, to know that our opinion is an opinion, to know that at the best, it's based on limited information. It's based on limited knowledge, it's based on limited experience, and it's based on limited insight. If you happen to have that deep inner intuition from the moment you meet a person, that, no, I know from the first this won't work or something. We're not talking about mental opinion there. Right or wrong, it may be vital preference, it may be vital intuition, it may be anything. But we're not talking, mental opinion is formed on the surface by thought, by appearances, which are never the whole reality. So it's good to know, it's good then, if we know that, to always be open. Whatever our opinion may be, not to insist on it, not to try to thrust it on others, and to always be open to the fact that there's more behind it, more around it, and it can change over time. So in other words, we no longer treat it as the truth. Like Sherlock Holmes, I've got limited evidence. Based on the limited evidence, I can have a hypothesis, and I may have to act because we have to act. But I don't need to be fixed in that and try to justify it and push away everything that contradicts it. In politics, where are you based, Vidya?
Pardon?
Where are you based?
Right now I'm in Gurgaon.
In Gurgaon. It's, if I'm watching the American politics every day. Whatever happens, people stay fixed to their view. Whatever revelations come out about Trump, at least for the 40% of his diehard followers, nothing will change their opinion. He even said during the elections in 2016 that even if I shoot somebody in the street, my people will follow me, which sounded so absurd, but there's a truth in it. That's what we have to give up. We have to give up that which defends itself against anything. That's what we see in the politics. It doesn't matter what you say. The person doesn't want to accept, defends, rejects, discounts, it distorts, imagines, in order to reinforce their opinion. That's not knowledge. That can never be knowledge. We're defending ignorance. So the first message here is don't defend what we know. We may have to act on it, but don't defend it. The more defensive we are to preserve it, the more we know it's an opinion or it's a movement of ego rather than a movement of awareness. Awareness is good. Observation is good. And it should continuously grow. And you should continuously learn and understand your driver better over time and learn how to judge people better over time rather than fix it and categorize it and pigeonhole it and see, is it possible for people to change? It's not easy. It's not easy for us to change. It makes us reflect, how far have I changed? How much more reliable am I now than I was earlier, or more responsible, or more honest? These are questions we can reflect on ourselves because you're poised with a good situation. And the other part of Mother's statement is abstain from the opinion and most of all from the reaction. The vital part of it, because as long as reaction is there, we know that we cannot be objective. Our quest is for truth. Our quest is not to categorize. The ego's quest is for domination. I'm right and everybody else is wrong. I'm good and others are not. I am misused by people, but I do everything right. The ego is constantly comparing itself to convince itself it's superior. Opinions are an instrument for that. So our judging, we should just abstain from judging egoistically. As long as we're reacting, we're clearly too involved to be objective. In particular situations, we have to make a decision. You made a resourceful decision. After all, whatever the man has done, he's been loyal to us for so long, and we put him in a position where we gave him the freedom and we trusted him, but we didn't really take into account what his situation was. So let's acknowledge it and regularize it and give him a chance to be a better person. And we cannot forget what he has done, but we can hope that if we consecrate that, if you consecrate what you have done to the mother in him, to the mother in the depths of him, and hope that that gives him a chance to make a progress. And it's in mother's hands. I'm very glad you observed it. I'm glad you have raised it, because this is to make it real. This, how do we just forget the opinion? Or we can't wipe out the experience. We can't wipe out the fact. But the opinion part of it is the attachment to the fact. We're invested in the fact, if you know what I mean. Great. Thank you for a very good observation.